Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we ready ourselves for a 1-2 punch of Nintendo Directs. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I'm always joined by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including the tease about a pair of Nintendo Directs happening this morning. We won't actually be talking about the Directs in this episode, but we'll talk about the fact that they have been announced. And then tomorrow, Tuesday night / Wednesday morning, we're going to be putting out a second episode where we are talking about everything revealed in those Nintendo Directs. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
Oh my gosh. Nintendo Directs. How crazy. Out of nowhere.
Two of them.
How
dare they? Announced 2 Nintendo Directs on Monday for Tuesday morning.
That's right. An Indie World showcase and a Nintendo Direct partner showcase. 2 showcases, but really, and we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
But the cold open raises a really good question.
It raises a really good question. I said we're preparing ourselves for a 1-2 punch.
And is that where the name 1-2 Switch comes from?
Now,
is it a play on 1-2 punch?
Is it a play on 1-2 punch, or is it like just a play on like a count up?
Right, where it'd
1,
be like
2, 3?
1, 2, 3, but instead of 3, it's switch.
I mean, it's not like 3, 2, 1 switch. 1, 2 switch. It's good that we interrogate these things 7.5 years later. 1-2 punch. So a 1-2 punch, that's like a combination of things happening to, like in the metaphorical sense, right?
Yeah,
It's a combination of things like piling up that are like bad that hit you at the same time, right?
Right.
Or I guess it could be something good, right? You could have a 1-2 punch of something positive.
I guess you could.
Right.
But rarely, I think, is 1-2 punch used in a positive way.
Sure. Okay. It's usually something that like catches you off guard. Is 1-2 switch in any way a combination of things? It's a combination of like a bunch of different mini games.
Yes, but it's not like the individual mini games are having you do multiple things.
No, they're all very simple.
Well, here's a question.
Okay.
In Japanese, what is 1-2 Switch called 1-2 Switch, or does it have another name? And we don't know the answer to this.
We refuse to look it up.
But if it did,
right,
I wonder if that would illuminate anything for us. Like what is it called in Japanese? Is it called 1-2 Switch? Is it called something else that might provide some guidance on why it's called 1-2 Switch?
Let's also look to the sequel, Everybody 1-2 Switch, which honestly just confuses me more.
Yeah, I feel like Everybody 1-2 Switch, they were just like 1-2 Switch is the noun.
Right.
And everybody is the modifier that we're putting on it to indicate that like
this could
100
have been
people can play.
Right. This could have been 1-2 Switch Jamboree for all we can. For all we know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like on the other hand, that's sort of like the everybody that starts it almost like is like an everybody dance, or like it's a command. You know, that like 1-2 Switch is the thing that you all got to do.
So is switching?
Yeah.
Is it like
do-si-do?
Like you said, like on 3.
Right.
We switch.
1-2 switch.
But that also is not manifested in the game itself, right?
I mean, there are like count downs, but you know, like to drawing your guns or whatever. Look, Mark, we're never going to get to the bottom of this.
We'll never know the answer to
we
it.
never will. You put your theories in the Discord because nobody knows. We don't know. But if you would like to join our Patreon, where you can support us having conversations like this, you can head on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries that we put out.
That's right. We are currently doing the second season of NCS Arcade, and for the month of August, we're going to be talking about a little Nintendo DS game called Elite beat agents.
Agents are go!
So get ready to get your rhythm on. We'll be recording that episode soon. But whether you are a paid follower on Patreon, you can also be a free follower, and everybody should do that because you get our listener feedback episodes for free, no matter what tier of follower you are. Also, at the 4-bit level, if you're following at the 4-bit level, supporting at the 4-bit level, then you now have access to NCS Detective Club. So lots of good stuff going on in the Patreon.
Right. And if you currently have questions or thoughts about Elite Beat agents, you can email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and include those thoughts, and we will include them in the listener feedback episode that everyone gets to listen to for free. So whether you are, I'm saying even if you are if you're interested in Elite Beat agents, but you are not contributing at the 8 or 16-bit level, you can still be involved in the conversation and listen to that episode. So that'll be super fun. The Discord, which I previously mentioned, it's like a big chat room where we're all talking about Nintendo. If you are listening to this episode before the Nintendo Directs happen, shoot me an email and we will let you in. You can chat with us as the directs are happening. It's going to be like 40 minutes of stuff. Some of it might be confusing. Some of it might be exciting. So email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will let you in. Last thing before we get into some debugs, which seem to be coming, by the way, a little bit too frequently for my liking. We're getting stuff wrong, Mark.
We are getting stuff wrong, but it's like debugs / listener messages because they're not all coming through email. But I kind of like the dialogue, even if the dialogue is, "Hey, you got something wrong."
Right, and sometimes it's got something embarrassingly wrong.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But so just the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles source book issues 1 through 3 are in stores right now. I wrote them. Issue 4, I believe now is coming out September 11th, not the 4th, as I have been saying. So check that one out. It's super fun. There's a lot of implied stuff that we canonized in that issue. It's maybe the most exciting issue for that purpose. I think we named 70 characters that aren't named on the page in the series, and that's with input from editors and writers and everything. So it's a good one. Seek it out if you're interested in the denizens of Mutant Town from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mark, the debugs.
Yes. So on Thursday's episode,
Yeah.
we were taking a survey of all of the Nintendo Switch Online first-party games and determining which ones were still missing from the various services.
Right. And this was a list that I generated from a Nintendo wiki, sorted it, checked it against my own personal list of games that are on there. And for some reason, I just didn't clock that Clu Clu Land is on Nintendo Switch Online, has been on Nintendo Switch Online since May 15th, 2019. So thank you. This is a slightly hostile thank you to everyone who corrected us. You're right. And it's embarrassing that we got it wrong because we also talked about it for a long time.
We did talk about it for a long time.
Yeah.
It does solve the mystery of how I've played it before.
Right.
Because I spent
spent
3 minutes.
Right.
Being like, I don't know how I've played this, but I know I have.
And I think here's the ultimate lesson is that we were like, it's not on there, but who cares? I never really want to play it. And it being there and us not remembering that is maybe the most indicative of that thing's place in Nintendo history.
You really don't like Clu Clu Land.
I really don't like Clu Clu Land. It's a bad game. No one should play it.
Well, last week, man, we really have had just a string of Nintendo Directs.
Yes.
Nintendo presentations, because last week was the Nintendo Museum Direct. And you and I were both kind of not down on it, I would say, but it certainly wasn't what I was expecting out of a Nintendo museum.
Right. It was not to our expectations.
Yeah,
right.
Which was more, I guess, of a place that had some amount of scholarly insight into Nintendo or the development of Nintendo games or something like that, Nintendo history. But we had some interesting context provided on the Discord on the Nintendo Museum from Meisei Ace. And they write, quote, "This is mostly my personal observation, but I think there is some nuance in the Japanese language that may have caused your expectations for what a, quote, Nintendo museum could be. Nintendo uses the English word museum for this building, even though there is a word in Japanese that translates to museum. Hakabutsuken. It has been my experience that places called museum are more family-friendly with activities for everyone. There are ones for anime characters, trick art, and cup noodles. There is some history, but you go there to experience something. I think the Nintendo Museum fits this category perfectly. However, a miniature train model museum does use Hakabutsuken, so my theory isn't perfect.
Okay, all right. So good context that like maybe the word like museum, the word museum, the like Japanized, I don't know like, what word I'm trying to say here, version of the English word is used for something like a little bit different than what like the translation of museum would actually be.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like what Mesa Ace is getting at is, like in LA and other places, there's like the Museum of Illusions, but it's not actually a Museum of Illusions. It's a place you go to take like photographs in like,
Sure.
with backdrops that are set up to make it look like you're, I don't know, really small in a Hobbit house, something like that. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Where it's like Mesa
It's
Ace
more
is saying,
experiential.
yeah. Right, rather than learning about the history of optical illusions. And this does make a lot of sense to me because I also feel like one of the reasons that Nintendo's creating this Nintendo Museum is because they're like, they are trying to address a need for people who come to Kyoto to have a space where they can experience something new Nintendo
Right.
without trying to get into their corporate headquarters.
Right. Yes. Which, good call. Right. So yeah, I guess that is a satisfactory explanation to me. It still does make me a little bit sad that what is happening there is less of a like I want a museum of Nintendo context, and not just like a parade of products.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, either way, it's very cool. So.
Also, AV from the Discord has another Switch game that uses the IR sensor. So this is from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We were taking stock of all of the features of the Nintendo Switch and the Joy-Con that were shown off in the January 2017 Nintendo Switch announcement presentation. And at the time, we were like, I can't think of anything that uses the IR sensor recently. And AV mentioned Vitamin Connection. I looked this up, so it's like a indie game, I guess, but it's a 2-player co-op game where you are piloting a little ship through the human body that is sick, and one person is using motion controls to
like tilt controls or
tilt controls to navigate. Both people are controlling aspects of the ship. One person's like navigating forward, and another person's kind of like spinning around trying to shoot medicine at viruses or something. But then the boss battles are like mini games, and I guess one of it uses the hand measurement for you to try to like get through a maze or something like that.
Sure.
So
another example of it being used, but I just like I cannot in good conscience say that that's like a feature that they like delivered on.
Yes,
right?
Totally.
Vitamin Connection, published by Way Forward.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. All right, that is the end of the of the debugs. We're done being corrected for right now. We appreciate this. I love it. Just the Clu Clu Land thing is so embarrassing.
It's pretty. I mean, at least
because we went hard on it.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're not fans of Clu Clu Land, but at least we saved ourselves the true embarrassment. I don't know if everybody got to the end of the episode.
Yeah, if you didn't listen all the way through the end of the episode, we caught ourselves that we did not mention Zoda's Revenge. So go back and listen to the very end of the episode, even after I cue the ending music. So go back, check it out.
But at least we caught ourselves.
We caught ourselves.
Clu Clu Land, I can live with.
Yeah.
Zoda's Revenge, I would still be feeling it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know that we could show our faces here again. Me in my own house. All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Agents are go, of course. We continue to play Elite Beat Agents. I'm worried about finishing this game.
I guess We'll have to figure out what we mean by finish.
Right. Well, and yeah, because it's we mentioned this last week, but since it's such a like high score chasey kind of game, like how much do you actually have to do in order to consider yourself like experience the whole game? Right?
Yeah.
But so working on that. But then there are two things that I've been playing. One that I just like kind of picked up to like fill like idle time. You know, like I'm listening to a podcast and I've got 15 minutes left, and I want to keep listening, but I also want to like do something with my hands. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, playing that funky mode, having a great time. It is so like friction free to play funky mode, and I just think it's fun that Nintendo now is like on this streak of like, here, have a character who's just like way OP. And I kind of wish that they'd gone further with that in Wonder, in Mario Brothers Wonder, because like Nabbit and the Yoshis are pretty invincible, but like they're still, you know, they can still fall in holes and stuff. And just the fact that Funky Kong has this additional like move kit makes him just a ton of fun to play.
Yeah, I like that they've really figured this out, because during the Wii era,
Yeah.
they were also beginning to experiment with, okay, how do we make it possible for everybody to progress in these games? And the way that they did it was just letting people skip the level. They would introduce, I can't remember what it is in like Super Mario Brothers, or no, sorry, Super Mario Galaxy 2 does
it where you can,
there's just like an option that shows up. It's like an item, or maybe the menu prompts you, or
just
a character
to, like,
prompts
skip,
you
yeah.
to just like skip to the end of the level if you
Oh,
died a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I feel like it, you know, later they have figured it out. Like you said, they've introduced alternate characters that you can
Right.
use that give you that boost to try to, because Tropical Freeze is a hard game.
It's a hard game, yeah. And like Super Mario 3D World will do the thing where it's like, here's the like invincible Tanuki suit, which I always am offended when it appears, because I'm like, no. I'm working on this. But yeah, I mean, I guess that is basically the same thing. I just wish it was like an option that you turned on.
Did you
know?
start at the beginning of Tropical Freeze?
No, I turned it on, and like I had a save like 3 worlds in funky mode, and I was like, yeah, great, fun. I'll keep this up. I don't really have anything new to say about Tropical Freeze, other than to say that I'm excited to play Donkey Kong Country Returns HD again, because I've played the original and I've played the 3D version. I'll play HD, but I'm also like, man, guys, give me a new Donkey Kong.
I know. It feels like they're teasing us.
It does.
But I have faith.
Okay. And then the last thing that I picked up recently, Donkey Kong. I'm just going to keep talking Donkey Kong. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate went on sale. So I was like, that's it. That's enough for me.
Which one is
This
Splintered
is the one
Fate?
that's like a Hades-like, where it's like roguelike, top-down, isometric, and like kind of was originally an Apple Arcade game, and is ported over to Switch. It's evidently getting some update soon with like online matchmaking and a challenge mode. I have not played a lot of it yet, but I don't love it. I find the controls to be a little loose, that like the turtles kind of like skid a little bit further than I want them to, and they're not like turning on a dime like I would expect them to. And I wonder if some of that is left over from it being like a touch-based phone game. So I don't know. I'm going to keep messing around with it because, you know, they're my boys and I like that mode of combat. It also takes a long time to load, which seems crazy to me. But yeah, it is okay.
Can you play co-op locally? When it has online matchmaking, I'm assuming that you can do this.
I think so.
In co-op.
Yes, yes. In fact, they tell you at the beginning that yes,
that's kind of fun for a Ninja Turtles game.
Yeah,
you can have your friends pop in as the other turtles.
Yeah, we should do that sometime.
Do all the turtles have different movesets?
They do, yeah. Okay. But I think it's possible that like as they are leveling up, because I mean you have like an attack and then like a magic attack and a technology attack, and those like level up in different ways throughout like your run, just like a normal kind of like roguelike would. So I don't know if they have the same set of things available to them, and they just start with different loadouts.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But yeah, I've played as Leonardo and Michelangelo at this point, and they felt different. So,
Well, I've been playing Splatoon 3 Side Order. So, we were talking about Octo expansion last week, and I was mentioning, and maybe we were talking about Side Order. I honestly can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but something around the Splatoon 3 DLC, and I was remarking on how Octo expansion was so difficult and I've never completed any of the first or single player modes in any of the Splatoon games. But then maybe I would wait for Side Order.
But you are a big fan of Salmon Run.
I'm a huge fan of Salmon Run. I love the world of Splatoon.
Yes.
And Anthons and AV in the Discord both kind of encouraged me to pick up Side Order and explained a little bit about like Side Order and how it works. And so I went ahead and did it. I paid $25 for the expansion, and I've got to say I have lost quite a few. Like over the weekend, I lost a lot of time to Splatoon 3 Side Order. It is really fun. It's really, really, really fun.
Okay, tell me about it.
Okay, so the way that it works is it's like a rogue-like in that there are 30 floors in a tower that you are trying to like get to the end of.
Mm-hmm.
And each floor that you go to, there are a lot of different variables at play in this, but each floor you go to, you basically have 3 different options to choose from what challenge you're going to take on that floor. And those challenges have different objectives. There's like maybe like 3 different objective types, maybe 4 different objective types. And then they are marked like easy, hard, or easy, normal, hard, and an even harder one that I'm blanking on what it's called. And then in addition to that, and they are random, so like what you will encounter on each floor is not the same each time, like which option. Then in addition to that, there are points that you can earn, like a currency is called like membucks or something like that, that you can earn for completing that challenge, completing that floor. And additionally, there are these things called pallet chips. So basically, it's like in that run, how you are building out your abilities.
Yeah.
And the pallet chips have different colors, which mean like they do different things. Pearl is a little drone that follows you around and has like abilities as well that you can level up with those chips and things like that. And so it's really like a matter. And then on every 10th level, you have a boss encounter. And I've run into 3 different boss types that you can get so far. And
are they original bosses, or are they like the Salmon Run bosses?
They're not like Salmon Run bosses. I don't know if they're in the single player, but I think that they're original to this game.
Okay.
One of them is basically just like there's an octoling like you, then like they come in waves. So that one is not that original, but the other 2 seem like original bosses. And I haven't successfully completed a run. I was stuck on 20. I could not beat the boss at level 20 for the longest time. Finally did it, and so the highest I've gone to is I've successfully completed floor 28, but I wiped on 29. And it like as soon as I finish a run, I want to jump back in and go again. All the different variables in it are really interesting and have me like switching up my strategy where it's like, okay, this time I'm going to go for, because as many membucks as possible, because there are vending machines on certain floors that you can use to like buy lives or stuff like that. But when you wipe, it calculates, like it adds up everything that you've earned over the course of the run and then gives you another bits, maybe they're called, or something, some other currency,
right?
And then you can spend that currency
to upgrade permanently
for like like buffs. And some of those buffs are like, oh, it reduces the damage taken, or when your shield breaks, it will shoot you into the air, and like that kind of stuff. It's really great.
Mark's liking it.
I don't regret spending the $25 at all. It's like, I guess I've unlocked Splatsville or something like that, but I don't really care about that at all.
Right.
As an alternate lobby in the main game, but I don't really care about that at all. Totally worth it just for
Side Order.
So thank you, Anthons and AV, because I was skeptical, but I'm loving it. I am really loving Side Order.
I think I also encourage you to check it out too. But
have you checked it out?
No, I don't have any experience with it. But I was saying, yeah, I think you should check it out. I think it'll be fun. I don't think it's as hard as Octo Expansion, from what I can tell.
It's definitely not.
How long does an individual? I'm saying that was part of my advice. Was I don't think it's as hard as the one that you thought was too hard. I think I did good work here too. How long is an individual run? Normally?
No, that's a good question. I would say maybe about like half an hour or something like that. Because so depending on each individual floor can take anywhere from like 30 seconds to, I don't know, like 4 or 5 minutes.
Sure, yeah.
So it really just depends on how high up you are and what difficulty.
Sure.
But
and sometimes also like, at least I know from my experience with like Hades, that like sometimes you pop into a floor and you're like, oh, I got this. I'm powered up just the perfect way.
Yeah.
And you just mop the floor with everyone. You're like, next, give me the next one.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, there are so many different variables, but it's all balanced really well and in a really fun way. And I am still encountering things that like I was surprised when a third boss type showed up and I was like, oh, I've never encountered this before. Or a floor layout will be introduced, or a new I guess I haven't really run into like a new mission type, but there's just enough variation and different ways to approach it where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna choose easy every time because I want to just try to get as many levels up as I can.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna go for hard, or whatever the one is after hard,
because you get better rewards.
You get better rewards or more like currency to spend. It's like, okay, well, I might wipe, but at least I'll have gotten like so much more currency than if I did all easy. It's just it's great. It's really good. You should check it out. I genuinely think you would love it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would. It sounds like the type of game that I've been looking for in my like trying out Dead Cells and now this like Turtles game, that like maybe I've just been looking for Splatoon the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Well, because there's a indie world showcase and a partner showcase, we're assuming that there's going to be some new releases that we don't know about yet.
Something's dropping today, like for sure.
But a new release that we do know about as of this recording, on Thursday, August 29th, Emio, the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club is released.
It is downloaded onto my Switch as we speak. I am anxiously awaiting it. I have not played any of the demos yet because I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to play the game when it comes out.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't played any of the demos yet either. I have seen some impressions online of it, and I don't know how much you want me to tell you what I've read.
Yeah,
it's been interesting to see some of the reactions where people are like, this is more obtuse than I was expecting it to be. As in, maybe I have gone in with the assumption that they were going to essentially sand off all of the rough edges that those first two games have, because hey, those are faithful recreations of games from the 80s.
Right.
This one is made in modern times, and so like they must have learned a lot. But I've seen some conflicting things where people being like, I found it to be a little bit frustrating and obtuse in ways I wasn't expecting for like a modern adventure game, and other people being like, it wasn't that bad. Like, I totally get it. So I mean, that will be interesting.
That will definitely be interesting, and we'll likely be playing before there are like a lot of robust guides for it, which was not the case when we played the other two. But like the bar that I have in my head for how obtuse a game like this is really high.
Yeah, everybody seems to agree that it's not as bad.
Well, then what are we talking about?
As the Missing Air.
It's fine.
And then
probably
the other thing is that I don't think that this one has English voice acting. I think it's just Japanese voice acting, but it has an English translation. And my memory
which is how I want to play them anyway.
I know I feel the same way, but my memory is that the Missing Air and The Girl Who Stands Behind did have
English
voice acting.
And we just went into the options and turned it off right away.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
That's a lot of like, Nintendo $40 game to listen to that quality voice acting, because they don't stop talking.
Right.
So like, yeah, I'll take the Japanese. Thank you.
But I'm really excited for it. I have my copy coming. Plus, I pre-ordered the Japanese special edition.
Right.
So I'll get my itty bitty paper bag inside an itty bitty plastic.
It's very
bag,
exciting.
So.
I'm excited to see you like this, Mark. It doesn't always often happen.
Yeah, I'm generally not much of a special edition person, but
you're not even much of a physical games person.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, have you purchased outside of those that like you had to?
Yeah, I mean, I did buy Nintendo Switch Sports physical.
Okay.
And I bought.
And you bought Everybody 1-2 Switch.
I did buy Everybody 1-2 Switch.
Right.
And
because you and I were like, this thing is going to be a curiosity in like 20 years.
And
we're going to have copies of this thing.
Ring Fit Adventure. I probably bought. Oh, did I buy? I can't remember if I bought 3D All Stars.
Oh, yeah, I think you did. I think you did buy it physically.
Yeah.
Because we were both at that point sort of the like, if they're going to take this away in digital, like we just don't know.
Yeah.
But
maybe in the entire Switch run, maybe 5 or so. But yeah, I bought MEO, and I'm buying it twice. I bought the Japanese edition and I'm buying the US edition because I want Nintendo to see points all around, right? So anyways, that's a little bit about me, a little bit about my buying habits for MEO.
I mean, again, I love that, and I want to see the special edition when it comes to you. Do you have any idea? Like,
I think it's supposed
coming from Japan.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to ship on. I bought it through Amazon. It's supposed to ship on the 29th, so I'm hoping like a week or two. I really don't know what to expect.
And then the only other new release I wanted to point out was Pinball Effects is getting new tables based on Goat Simulator. Okay, fine, interesting, whatever. And The Princess Bride. So like, yeah. When's the last time you saw like a new Princess Bride thing?
Right. And is it based on the movie, the book?
I mean, probably the movie.
Probably the movie.
I don't know how you base. I mean, someone check me on this, but I don't know how you base a pinball table on a book. Seems difficult, doesn't it? You gotta put like graphics on a thing, right?
Right, but I mean, like illustrations are a thing. You could hire somebody to illustrate
yes
art based on passages from the book. I'm not saying it's a strong argument. I'm saying
if someone point me towards an example where it's, and look, not something that like it's a book and a movie, right? You know what I mean,
right?
If it's just a book.
Also, it would be very funny to be like, we need that Princess Bride bump, but we aren't going to license the movie,
right?
We're just going to get the book.
And honestly, if your Princess Bride pinball table doesn't have Peter Falk on it somewhere, I don't want it.
Yeah, would that be like a bonus? You're like knocking down pages out of like it's like Peter Falk, and he's holding like a book, and the book is a little bit 3D, and it's little bumpers that you're trying to knock down for a bonus.
I would just think that like every time that like you start the game, it's like, Peter Falk being like, all right, where were we? Trying to like find his place in the book.
Yeah.
Or like you lose a ball and then it's like, I can see you're very frightened. We'll pick this up tomorrow. All right, Mark, those are the new releases. Let's close this segment out. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, Alien Romulus came out.
Yeah. How was it?
So this is no spoilers here for Alien Romulus. We're going to be talking about the Alien franchise kind of more generally. I liked it. It is a little bit too eager to do like franchise callbacks for my liking. There was one like famous line callback that got applause and groans in our audience. So like some people were like, "This is working on me," and then I was over, and not by myself, but like there was a contingent of the audience that was like, "Don't do that. Don't do this to me." But I've been reviewing some of the Alien movies. You've been reviewing some of the Alien movies.
Yeah, over the weekend I rewatched Aliens, which I have not seen for a really long time.
James Cameron's Aliens.
Yeah.
From 1986,
I think. It's a lot of fun.
That movie is great. Do you know if you were watching the director's cut or the original?
I want to say...
Was there an extended sequence with gun turrets, like automated gun turrets?
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
There
then
wasn't.
You were watching the regular.
Okay. Yeah, whatever was on Hulu.
Yeah.
But I think it was the regular. And that's so funny you said that, because I must have watched the director's cut previously because I kept waiting for the gun turret thing to happen.
Right.
And it never did.
Right.
So yeah, I must have watched, because I think the last time I'd watched all of them up to that point was when the quadrilogy was released.
A word I'm still angry about. Yeah.
That was probably like 2005-ish. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean that was a box set that I bought.
That was the only time I've seen Alien 3.
Oh,
I have
okay.
and Resurrection. I have like no memory of those movies.
I was a big fan of 3. I mean, I was a big fan of all of those first 3. But like, I really liked 3 for a long time, and I still sort of do. But like, I don't know. The last time I watched 3, I was like, oh yeah, this is just like the meanest movie I've ever seen. Like, it's just cruel.
Yeah, I got to the end of Aliens.
Yeah,
and it made me kind of angry that 3 picks up where it does.
Right.
Because it's such a nice ending to Aliens.
Yes.
And it's so cruel how 3 begins, which, my memory of 3 is, you're right, that it's like a stone cold bummer.
Yes.
But
the fact that it starts off, and this is okay to spoil the beginning of Alien 3, that like, it kills the Ripley's found family, the people that she rescues from LV-426 at the end of Aliens. And then, like, it impregnates Ripley with an alien, and they do an on-screen autopsy of the little girl. Like, it's just mean the whole time, and it doesn't let up from there. And then it kills a dog in the first, like, half hour, so an alien can pop out of a dog.
Yeah, it didn't leave me... My memory of 3 after watching Aliens did not leave me wanting to watch
to revisit it
3.
Yeah.
Also, Aliens, watching it this time, I was like, oh, this is a little bit like proto Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a lot of ways. And even with the like same sort of perspective on like a militarized authority. Obviously in Aliens they actually are military, or I guess they're like Weyland-Yutani military, right?
Yeah,
they work for
it's
the
not
company.
really clear to me if they were just like hired by them, if they're like mercenary, or if they are actually like. Tell me about Resurrection. What you remember about it? Good? Should I revisit it?
I would watch 3 before Resurrection.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, Resurrection is a bizarre movie in that it is written by Joss Whedon, like the quippiest guy on the planet.
He hates it though, right?
I don't. Who cares? And like it's got some like proto like Firefly stuff in it. Like there's a crew of space pirates who can map on pretty evenly to the cast of Firefly. And then it's directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, the guy who directed Amelie. And who doesn't speak English or make films in English. So like the script is written in this like verbose, Whedon-y, whatever, and Jeunet doesn't understand any of it. And like Jeunet does all of these like visual flourishes that are like interesting, but very like French art film, and it's happening in a Joss Whedon movie. So like it is the most like tonally bizarre of any of them. And like I don't know, there's some fun stuff in it, and Sigourney Weaver gives a killer performance in that one. Because she's like a clone of the Ripley who died at the end of 3 and a queen alien like mixed together. But I mean, 3 is better. 3 is a better movie.
The clone stuff, because Resurrection happens like in the
200 years after.
So
3.
when does Romulus take place?
Romulus takes place between Alien and Aliens.
Oh, so
Yeah.
when like Ridley's in hypersleep.
Yes, when she's drifting through the trade lanes, hoping to
That's
pick
so
up. Yeah.
interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
And then we didn't talk about either of the David movies, but maybe another time. Also, I haven't seen Covenant, and I would like to, because I don't know, I'm just like in alien mode right now. All right, we were accompanied today by the BBC Orchestra, as conducted by Lawrence Foster. Mark, let's get into the news.
Well, first of all, this morning, 7 a.m., there's an Indie World showcase, followed immediately by a Nintendo Direct partner showcase for 40 minutes of Nintendo presentation goodness.
Now, look, it does not really behoove us to speculate here or whatever, as our episode will post a mere 7 hours before the Direct happens. But we don't really know. We know the order, right? That it's the Indie World Showcase and then the partner showcase. Do we know if they're both streaming, or are they both going to be like videos posted to the YouTube?
My understanding is that they're going to be live streamed, so you won't be able to skip ahead.
As a single thing.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do we make of that order? Indie World first, partner Direct second.
I think it makes sense because my expectation is that if there's any like really big reveals, that it would happen in the second one.
In the partner showcase?
Less than in the Indie World showcase.
I just feel like there are some big indie things out there in the ether. Hades 2, Mina the Hollower, obviously Hollow Knight, Silksong. That like if any of those three are part of it, would make it sort of a blockbuster Indie World showcase.
I think that could be true. I think Silksong for sure, but then again, we don't know what's in the partner showcase.
Right.
That could also take up a lot of
Call of Duty.
air. Right.
Like I think that's sort of the scuttlebutt at the moment.
And I know that my
and we're not speculating.
no, but I know that my ahead of E3, my prediction was that Call of Duty would be announced at that June Direct. That obviously didn't end up happening. But would I get partial points?
No. What?
Okay.
No,
I just thought I would ask.
It's about E3.
Yeah, just thought I would throw that out there.
Go ahead.
2 points.
Yeah.
That aren't about speculating about like what could or could not be in the Direct. Last week we were looking at September and saying Nintendo never misses a September Direct, even when everything else in the world is crazy. Right. Nintendo's there in September.
Sometimes it's just a Mario 35th anniversary Direct.
But they're there.
Do
we think that this takes the place of a September Direct and we should not expect a Nintendo presentation? Or do we think that the internet scuttlebutt might be correct and that Nintendo could be saving September for talking about the Switch successor?
Well, Mark, stop me if you've heard this one, but there's no way to know. Because like either scenario seems plausible to me, right? That they're like, look, we have these agreements that we have to provide this like extra level of publicity in Nintendo Directs with our partners with these indie games. We are not planning to show off any Nintendo Switch 2 software until like we're ready to show off the hardware. So I guess we just got to launch these games now or launch these Directs now, and then that makes me think that we're not going to get the hardware showcase for a while, right? I.e. not September. But also, we don't really have any idea. Nintendo likes to put third-party stuff in their hardware reveals, right? Standing on stage with Call of Duty developers and being like, we're bringing Call of Duty to the new thing is like a beat they like. You know, they like bringing Activision on stage. They like bringing, Capcom on, whatever. And if they're like blowing these two opportunities here to show third-party games, indie or otherwise, doesn't that also seem like they would have wanted that in their hardware reveal?
Right.
All I'm saying is I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I think that's totally fair. You have gotten me, though, with the Nintendo isn't going to talk about it before Christmas is over with, before the holiday shopping season.
You're buying into this now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like, genuinely, who knows?
Genuinely, who knows? I will say that, like, I don't think we need to have, like, a a direct or anything about Zelda. But I sort of feel like they might need another beat about Brothership, and that could be like a mini direct in like October or something, or even in September, just to like let people know what that game is. I sort of feel like the Zelda game sells itself mostly, and people are already excited about it, and we got like a pretty good look at it in like the trailers leading up. It's out in a month, but like a new Mario and Luigi game, I feel like warrants more explanation. But I don't really know what their expectations for any of these releases here at the end of the year are.
I also don't know if the like Brothership. I don't know. Nintendo's pretty inconsistent with how they do presentations. Like we got a Xenoblade Chronicles Direct when they wanted to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Right.
But also, they could just dump a 5-minute trailer on,
Totally.
like YouTube and Twitter and call it a day.
Which is what happened with Echoes of Wisdom, right? Is that we got like a 3-hour-ish trailer that gave us a lot. Did I say 3-minute trailer that gave us more information, and that was good.
Yeah. So, but I do think you're right that there's more to come on Brothership before it releases.
I would also say that well, we don't tend to, you and I in particular, but I think just like gaming pundits, whatever in general, don't think of a new Mario Party game as like a seismic event. But in terms of sales this generation, they have been. Super Mario Party sold over 10 million copies. And like that could be in the cards for Super Mario Party Jamboree. You got to think that they're going to put a little bit of juice behind that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Jamboree could very well be like their best-selling
game this year.
Game of the year.
Yeah.
Anything else on the presentation that's happening this morning?
No, other than we will be in the Discord talking about it, and then Tuesday evening / Wednesday morning we will be putting out our second episode, which will just be about these directs. And then there won't be a third episode this week, just one that comes out a little bit earlier.
Speaking of the Switch 2, IGN had an exclusive interview with the head of Amazon Games, Christoph Hartmann, to talk about Amazon's gaming plans in general. And in the interview, Hartmann confirmed that Amazon plans to develop games for the Switch 2. Here's IGN's question. Are you monitoring the situation around the next generation Switch, especially given reports that it's probably not going to be out this fiscal year? Hartmann says, yeah, we obviously plan to develop games for it, and I can't wait for it to be out. I mean, honestly, I'd rather have them wait a year and get it perfect than rush it to the market, and then we all complain about what doesn't work. Which has been such a fantastic product. I can wait another year if I have to. And from development, I think most non-Nintendo developers are not exclusively doing titles for the Switch. They're always part of a portfolio mix of platform. Just wait. So not really anything new there.
Right. Other than so like Amazon Games, what are they doing? What?
Yeah, that is a great question. So kind of the thrust of the interview is Amazon to this point has put out like online MMOs that are really grindy, and like they have
right.
called
like
that,
New
like
World.
Yeah. And they at Gamescom last week they just announced a game called King of Meat, which is an online co-op like combat game that is coming to Switch along with other platforms. So in the thrust of the interview is like I think they own Crystal Dynamics now, maybe, or at least they own Tomb Raider.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So the thrust of the interview is basically we did a bunch of MMOs. We still have that Lord of the Rings MMO that we're trying to crack, but we are beginning to branch out to do other stuff. So it will be interesting to see how that manifests itself on Nintendo hardware.
Are they still doing games on Luna? Is that still a platform that exists, like the Amazon streaming service?
I think Luna does exist still.
Okay.
I don't know that it has any like
buy games on there.
Yeah, I'm really not sure, but I think it does still exist.
Okay, so I think you and I, when that Lord of the Rings MMO comes out, we should both get it on Luna and just play that. That'll be our game.
That's right. Well, the way he's talking about it, they still haven't figured out how to make that game fun. So I think the Lord of the Rings
that's a real
MMO
problem.
is a long ways away.
It's a real problem because both MMOs and Lord of the Rings have a real danger of being not fun at any turn.
Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, the mobile game, is going to be ending its service on November 28th of this year.
But it's not all bad news.
That's right. Nintendo plans to release a paid offline version of the app where players will be able to transfer saved data to that new version using their Nintendo account. More details will be released on exactly how that works and price and all that kind of stuff in October. But honestly, a pretty solid 7-year run for Animal Crossing Pocket Camp.
Yeah, especially considering that Nintendo's commitment to their online or to their mobile efforts, it's been pretty soft. We see them shuttering games. R.I.P. Dr. Mario World. R.I.P. What else is just gone?
Oh, Dragalia Lost.
Dragalia Lost is definitely lost. Mario Kart Tour is still there, but they've stopped adding stuff to it. Obviously, Super Mario Run, or just Mario Run? Super Mario Run, I was right.
And then Fire Emblem Fates.
Yeah, no, not Fates.
Echoes?
No, we'll get there. It's Heroes?
Yes, Heroes.
Yes,
Fire Emblem
yes,
Heroes.
that's right. Yes, that's right. Because I was just like, wait, is that the Muso? No, that's Warriors. Okay, we got that. Fire Emblem Heroes.
Yeah, Heroes makes sense because you're, spending in-game currency or real dollars.
Yeah, and Pikmin Bloom. Pikmin Bloom,
of
course.
Pikmin Bloom. I don't count Pikmin. I guess Pikmin Bloom, but I don't count any of the Pokemon games either because those are joint ventures. With another company.
But Pikmin Bloom is
Bloom near and dear to our hearts.
That's a Miyamoto game, and we play it every day. So
yeah.
My question here about Animal Crossing Pocket Camp going for a paid version is there was a lot of wait to win sort of dynamics in that game where you could get more fruit from a tree if you waited 8 real hours, or you could spend the premium currency to skip that time. And, getting fruit from a tree is one dumb example, but this is the way the whole economy of the game worked, right? So does this just mean that you won't have to wait for these things anymore? Or you will still have to wait, but you have a certain amount of premium currency every day? Or what's happening?
I am curious to find out how they're going to manage that because I didn't play Pocket Camp for all 7 years. When it first came out,
yeah, we both played a little bit.
Yeah, and I thought it was a pretty good approximation of Animal Crossing. I think it's neat that they're doing a paid version.
I think so too.
But you raise a good point, which is the paid version just going to be a way for people who have invested a lot of time and money into Pocket Camp to have that continue to persist? Or
can you start fresh there? Yeah.
Yeah, and if they're charging for it, it seems like it'll probably be a game.
Yeah.
And how they modify that to achieve those goals will be interesting.
And then I wonder if that's something they're interested in marketing at all, right? That do you want to try to be selling people on a paid version of this game that'll then be a satisfying experience for them? Or are they hoping that this is another shot at life for the thing? Or are they just putting it out to pasture? And if they're just putting it out to pasture, why bother making it?
Why bother?
Why bother at all? Just stop updating it.
The Super Mario, my thought goes to what they were saying about Super Mario Run.
Yeah.
Which is that the Super Mario Brothers movie was released in a lot of countries where the Nintendo Switch isn't officially sold.
Right.
And so people saw the movie. They did have access to Super Mario Run, and that was a way for people to connect with Nintendo who weren't or couldn't before. And obviously Animal Crossing doesn't have a animated movie attached to it or anything like that
yet.
But maybe there is benefit to just having it out there.
Right.
And people pick up Super Mario Run, they see what else Nintendo has on there. Pocket Camp. I feel like Pocket Camp is the perfect example of Nintendo not really being interested in mobile development, because I feel like if they really were, Pocket Camp would have had some association with New Horizons.
Absolutely.
And I was expecting that it would at least have something cursory where it was oh, you have Pocket Camp, you have a Nintendo account. Well, then when you log in to New Horizons, you get this special shirt or something because you've played Pocket Camp.
Right. And it could be so much bigger than that too, right? Like you could like send your villagers to like a campsite that you have on your phone, or send people from that visit your campsite to your island in New Horizons. Like they could have been sister programs, but like, I don't know. I think the sort of post-launch support of New Horizons was not super great. Like I think Happy Home Paradise is a great add-on to that game. I think it should have been its own standalone experience, and would have been more compelling that way. But it just feels like some missed opportunities here around the most recent like incarnations of Animal Crossing. I say as the game has sold like 50 million copies. So what do I know?
But I mean that's another point where Nintendo clearly just had zero interest in mobile gaming as soon as they could get out of it, because there was no cross-sell either way. They didn't say, hey, 50 million people who bought New Horizons, check out Pocket Camp. Like there was none of that.
You get some like premium currency or whatever to play it over there, or port your house over to Pocket Camp or anything like that.
Yeah. Circana released their report on the best-selling games in the US for July 2024. Not a banner month for Nintendo, not a whole lot to go into, but I did want to highlight that Nintendo World Championships NES Edition came in 6th place in the top 10 best-selling games without digital sales included, which means it was just tracking sales of that $60 collector's edition.
Oh, that's
so
yeah.
Or the $60 special edition really putting in the work.
Yeah, a lot of gold cartridges being sold.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some Crash Bandicoot news, because why not?
Hey, it's the world we live in.
Developer Toys for Bob was at one point developing a sequel to their 2020 game, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Itself a many years later sequel to the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy by Naughty Dog.
Yes.
Crash 5 would have involved Crash and his pals using portals to travel between universes, all leading up to, believe it or not, a crossover with Spyro the Dragon.
Okay, so saw a lot of this like floating around. People be like, "Whoa, we were ripped off here. We should have gotten a Crash Spyro game. They were working on it. These are the Toys for Bob, the people who could do both." As they developed the Skylanders games, which were obviously very Spyro heavy. It doesn't really seem like they were super far along in development of this thing before they were shut down. The Did You Know Gaming essay that sort of like revealed this at large, and then it was like confirmed by other sources, said that they were 3 to 4 months into development before Activision gave the project the axe, which to me still feels like conceptual stages, right?
Right, yeah. You also have a note here that, according to the Did You Know Gaming essay, this was meant to be a darker entry with a stronger focus on the series lore. This is like when we were talking about Mega Man.
Right.
It's just like, not why
I'm here. Right. I don't need to know where his, jorts come from. Just assume that they're part of his body.
Sort of related, and from that same Did You Know Gaming video, the Switch version of Crash Team Rumble appears to have been quietly canceled. That was a 4-on-4 online game that came out last June that didn't really seem to get much uptake.
Right. And now it's not coming to Switch, so it'll join Crash Bandicoot 5 in that things that don't exist on this platform or at all.
And potentially, maybe could have involved Spyro.
Yeah, who knows, right?
We don't know. They could have added Spyro to Crash Team Rumble.
Skylanders was so big for a little bit, right? Like, kids were interested in those Skylanders characters. And then, like, Activision was just like, no more of this ever.
I think it was like, it's funny that it was Activision because they were also responsible for Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
But I think.
Oh, sure. Just like the too much plastic.
Exactly. I think it was like the Toys to Life thing was just like Rock Band and Guitar Hero.
Right.
Where it was successful for a little bit and then had diminishing returns. And so they stopped development on. Because remember Disney Infinity? Like there were a number of them.
Right. But I mean, like, Skylanders was like the only one of those that was original IP, right? Where it's like, because the Disney Infinity, like maybe it's popular because they're Disney characters. Who's really like whose affinity is for the Infinity, right?
Right.
Whereas like I know kids were obsessed with Skylanders characters, and like if they had played that out with like a trading card game and like a cartoon or whatever, like Skylanders could have been another big thing.
Well, it's interesting because Skylanders did have a cartoon.
Did it really?
It had a Netflix animated series. But you're right. It's like Yokai Watch. It's like brand management, right? Like how do you keep these things evergreen instead of just being a quick flash in the pan?
Right. Not tie it exclusively to a Toys to Life video game series.
Finally, PAX West kicks off on Friday in Seattle, and Nintendo is attending with some game demos in tow. So they will have Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, Star Wars Hunters will be there, Super Mario Party Jamboree, it will be there, but also the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom will be playable, which to my knowledge is the first time that people will have hands-on with it, which makes me think that any day now we should expect previews from major outlets. I haven't read anything to this effect, but it just seems crazy to me that they would have a demo to the public before previews for the game drop. And
that's a really good point.
And we're like a month out.
Yeah,
so I would imagine
less than a month,
like any day now, the first preview articles and videos will start dropping online. And then on Friday, the demo will be available. But cool for anybody who's going to PAX West to be able to get hands-on time with this, because that will be that'll be pretty cool.
It is interesting that like in a world without E3 that like these because if E3 existed, every games journalist in the country would have played Echoes of Wisdom for like 20 minutes already, and we would have had like those previews and impressions and stuff. But yeah, we don't live in that world right now. So like it'll be at PAX West, but like Nintendo skipped out of Gamescom this year, likely because they didn't have anything they were ready to show yet. Probably again tied to Switch 2 and not wanting to reveal that till after Christmas. Blah 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 blah. But yeah, it just for a second here I was like, oh yes, this thing that we are missing. This E3 beat. Yes.
Right. Where even not just like journalists, but just regular people who are attending the show are able to go.
And whatever you and I are.
Yeah, exactly. Nintendo freaks, I think. But like Link's Awakening, right? We were able to go hands-on with Link's Awakening. And I assume that they've either flown journalists to Seattle to do hands-on already, or maybe they distribute demos some other way. I don't really know how that works.
We almost missed our Final Fantasy VII Remake demo.
Oh, I remember.
Scheduled a time because we were in line to see the Link's Awakening demo, and the power went out.
Yep.
Remember when the power went out?
I do. But just like Liz Lemon at the airport eating the sandwich before she goes to security,
could have it all.
We were able to have it all.
Yeah. Did they not give us the? So we got little Link's Awakening keychains for participating in that. We didn't get those until you like played the demo, right?
I think that's right.
So like we were so pot committed at that point, standing in line for like an hour and a half. We were gonna play that game.
Yeah, I think so.
What a joy!
That was a lot of fun.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. We'll be back at you in less than 24 hours with another episode where we talk about a lot of the same stuff. Okay. Join the Discord if you haven't yet. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers, saying thank you for listening.